The security guy screamed at my son with a weapon in hand, veins popping and voice cracking like a faulty speaker. My son, calm as ever, not because he was scared, but because he was assessing, calculating. Because the man with the shiny toy badge didn't know who he was dealing with. That 20-year-old standing with his hands raised, that's Evan Cross, my boy, Special Forces, trained, armed. And no, he wasn't just visiting dear old dad. He was ready. Let me back up. I moved into Juniper Creek House for one reason: quiet. After 3 decades of closing deals, balancing ledgers, and drowning in meetings, I was done with conflict. I wanted to hear birds again. Wind. Nothing more. My back porch opened to a slow-moving creek, shaded by willows, hugged by a few smooth stones and ferns. I grilled on weekends, mowed my lawn sharp, and kept my head down. My neighbors were an odd mix of retirees, weekend hobbyists, and ex-consultants who used to wear cufflinks and now wore Crocs. It was peaceful, until it wasn't. See, I bought into Juniper Creek Estates because it wasn't some glossy gated community where you get fined for mismatched lawn chairs. It was relaxed, real. Nobody bothered you unless your hedges attacked the sidewalk. That changed after our HOA president-old Harold passed away and slithered a new regime. Clipboard fanatics with superiority complexes and way too much time on their hands. They weren't trying to maintain order. They were trying to curate a museum, a retirement utopia. And if you didn't fit the mold, they'd mold you or throw you out. And that's where Evan comes in. After a long overseas deployment, he started visiting again. Always polite, always quiet. He's built like a linebacker, but moves like a shadow. Barely says a word. We didn't talk much those first weekends. Just grilled, fished a little, sat on the porch in silence. He never stayed more than 2 nights. Never blasted music, never broke a rule. Just helped me fix stuff and made his absurdly spicy chili. But even silence offends the small-minded. I noticed it first when Donna, the new president's wife, would cross the street every time Evan jogged by. Other neighbors started walking their dogs near our place like they were patrolling a military zone. The whispers started. Then came the envelope, cream-colored, sealed with gold foil like it was a royal decree. It was from the Juniper Creek Board, a community initiative, effective immediately. The HOA was transitioning toward a 55-plus designation. They dressed it up in fancy talk maturity demographics, wellness-focused, but the truth was right there between the lines. Guests under 30 had to be pre-approved. Stay limits of 72 hours. Visible IDs required for all visitors. I handed Evan the letter. He was at the table, sharpening a blade for no reason other than it helped him think. He read it, stone-faced. So, I'm non-compliant now. I nodded. He folded the letter and dropped it into the trash. Didn't flinch. Didn't argue. Just tossed it like it was junk mail. Because he knew. This wasn't about rules. It was about power and fear. Evan's presence wasn't a disruption. It was a challenge to their delusions of control. That's when the surveillance began. First came Greg with the bad knee and the binoculars. Then Linda with her designer sunglasses and not-so-covert phone snaps whenever Evan was in the yard. Then the board formed a community compliance task force, a squad of retirees with too much authority and not enough hobbies. They parked at the end of our cul-de-sac, sipping lukewarm coffee from gas station cups and scribbling in clipboards like they were hunting spies. Evan didn't react. He just waved when he jogged by. They never waved back. We kept our place spotless. Lawn cut tight. Trash bins sorted better than some recycling plants. American flag replaced after every storm. Still, nothing changed. It was never about code. It was about presence. Evan wasn't their idea of what Juniper Creek should look like. Then they brought in Carl. No vote. No public announcement. Just a security liaison in a polyester shirt and a badge that might as well have come from a Halloween store. Carl had the energy of a guy who'd been kicked out of paintball leagues for being too aggressive. Bald, sweaty, sunglasses bigger than his face. He wore his belt like it was a costume. Said he used to be a corrections officer. I doubted he'd ever passed a background check. The first time Evan met him, Carl tried to stop him at the front gate. Evan rolled down the window, smiled, and said, Can I help you? Carl demanded ID. Evan said, just visiting my dad. Carl said Evan wasn't on the guest list. Evan said, that's because we don't do curfews in a free country. Carl told him to pull over. Evan didn't. He drove through. Calmly. From then on, Carl made it personal. He began tailing Evan. Flashlight interrogations. Blocking the driveway. Telling neighbors we were being reviewed. Implying Evan was dangerous. I knew what they were trying to do. They wanted Evan to crack. To lash out. To give them something to point to and say, see, we were right. They underestimated my son. Then came the Sunday. Evan had gone to grab eggs. I was halfway through seasoning the skillet when my phone rang. Unknown number. I don't usually answer those. That day I did. All I heard was, this is your son's phone. You should come to the gate. Then a click. I threw on shoes and drove like hell. By the time I got there, I heard yelling. Carl, screaming like a man and way over his head, trying to sound braver than he felt. Carl stood in the street, legs wide, one arm outstretched, the other holding a pistol. Pointed at my son. Evan stood still, hands raised. No panique. Just still. He said, calm as sunrise. You don't want to do this. Carl's hand was shaking. You're trespassing. You're a threat. Evan tilted his head. You see me every weekend for 4 months. Carl's face burned red. I jumped out of my truck, yelling, Carl, drop the gun. Carl turned, swinging the muzzle toward me. Stay back. I lifted my hands. He's my son. You're pointing a live weapon at an unarmed man on private property. He's not approved. That's not how laws work, Carl. That badge means nothing. That weapon makes you liable. Carl hesitated. Just long enough. Then Evan moved. One blink. That's all it took. Suddenly Carl was on the ground, arms behind his back, Evan's knee pressing gently between his shoulders. This is a control hold, Evan said. Nothing's broken. Yet, Carl whimpered. He assaulted me. I called the sheriff. Deputy Showalter arrived 12 minutes later. What is it now, Carl? He sighed. Carl wailed. He grabbed my weapon. Showalter asked me. I showed him the footage Evan had been recording. Everything. The whole escalation. Carl's threats. The weapon drawn. Showalter weicht, Iotzlen's head. Carl, you're not law enforcement. This is impersonation. But the HOA doesn't make laws, Showalter snapped. But then he paused. The board has some pull. Equipment donations, community support. If I book Carl now, there'll be calls. You're kidding, I said. I'm filing a report. But don't expect cuffs. Not tonight. That's when I knew. This wasn't just Carl. This was a setup. They wanted Evan gone. They wanted him provoked, arrested, anything to justify their purge. But they picked the wrong family. Because Evan? He wasn't just visiting. He was still serving. Special forces. Active. That night, Evan handed me a flash drive. Past 6 weeks. Drone footage. Trail cams. Gata logs. You been watching them? I asked. You told me to stay busy, he shrugged. What I saw on that drive chilled me. Forged ballots. Fake notaries. Inautorisée surveillance. Fraud. And Carl? Not just unlicensed. He'd been flagged before for impersonating a marshal at a state fair. I called Sandra, an old friend, an attorney. This smells like a RICO case, she said. We built our case. Vote logs. Fine patterns. Racial targeting. Under 50s hit hardest. Ghost votes from dead homeowners. Proxy ballots all signed by the same 3 people. We packaged it tight. And we delivered it. At the next HOA meeting. They tried to silence me. Karen, a new president, smacked her gavel, tried to shut me down. Then I dropped the thumb drive. Emergency clause. Board misconduct. Page 38. You'd know that if you didn't forge the bylaws. The footage played. Carl's weapon. His badge from Amazon. His revoked license. The fraudulent vote sheets. The racial bias heat map. The room turned. And then Agent Holloway entered. Homeland Security. Badge and all. Impersonation of federal law enforcement. Discriminatory policies. Fraud, he said, facing Karen. Carl tried to slip out. Deputy Showalter blocked him. Resignations followed. Karen. Doug. Nah. One by one. Slow applause followed. Then silence. Outside, Evan mounted a new sign at the gate. A simple one. This community welcomes all ages, especially those who know the law better than you. The new board was elected within weeks. No keyboards, no fake cups, no checkpoints. That evening, Evan and I sat on the porch, sipping coffee. Down the road, a new family was moving in. 2 kids, one with a cape, one with a toy sword. Evan smiled. I like them already. Yeah, I said. Me too. The wind passed soft through the willows, and for the first time in a long time, Juniper Creek felt like home again.